Hit it.
Stay tuned stay tuned until the end of the episode. Brandon and Mia decided to give you a 30-round workout. That's hard to strategize, so I'll try to give you some insight into how to approach it and set expectations in this crazy-ass workout.
TTT THROWDOWN! On this week's Throwdown, we have Alligator Andy and Jack Joe demo the workout.
We did Alligator Alessandra.
Yeah.
Oh, Apple just seems so lame.
Avalanche.
Aviator?
Alpine. Have a tree.
I feel guilty giving away Jack Joey's name
No,
to Jack
don't do
Joe.
it.
Write a J for me too while you're at it.
Jambalaya Joe.
Can we call him Jordan Joe and a picture of the Jumpman?
Jaguar.
Yeah.
Jaguar Joe. I like that. Don't confuse that with the cheetah. They have different spots. On this week's Throwdown, we have Jaguar Joe and Avalanche Andy demo the workout.
We've got ground to overhead and bar facing burpees.
If you're here, you know that these workouts come out every Thursday on YouTube at 1 p.m. And if you don't know,
Cheetah, they have different spots.
get better at the sport of CrossFit alongside some of the best athletes in the world in our online training program, The Design. Head over to our website, trainingthinktank.com/DSGN to learn more.
This week's Throwdown is 30 rounds for time of 3 ground to overhead and 3 bar facing burpees.
Because this workout's so much fun, and you want to be on the leaderboard, go to the description down below, click the link, and register. Also there, you'll find movement standards and a warm-up for this workout.
This week's demo athletes are Joe and Andy, 2 young, up-and-coming athletes who have been developing in our on-site environment for the last couple of months, 2 years. Not the same amount of time because Joe has been here for longer than Andy, but they're both here.
Jeez.
Let's go see that workout.
3, 2, 1, 0.
Light barbell cycling and burpees, another favorite of mine.
This is great because you can see one person's doing the snatch, another's going to do a clean and jerk. It's ground to overhead, so you can do it any way that you want. We'll see how that pans out over the course of the workout.
It seems like, just from watching right now, that Joe has a little bit more of an aggressive plan of attack.
Yeah.
And Andy's looking at the clock. You told me he's trying to go on the 30 seconds, so that can give you a context. He's waiting, looking at the clock up behind the camera, and Joe's just rocking and rolling.
Yeah, so there's a 13-minute cap. So it's 30 rounds. He was going on the 30 seconds. I think his thought was, once I get to that 8 or 9 minute mark, that's when I'm going to speed it up to try to finish under the cap. But obviously, if you stay on,
It's a hard thing to do.
for sure, for sure. And I think that I talked to Andy after this and said, hey, it's probably not the best strategy if you want to finish the workout. But if you know that this is just maintenance because you can't, then maybe that is a good strategy.
Yeah. So, what are your thoughts on power snatching versus clean and jerk?
The snatch is going to be much faster for those that can either muscle snatch or do like kind of that pseudo power snatch where they're not pulling it all the way into their hips. Joe said he really liked the clean and jerk because it allowed him, first, whatever his positions are, it allowed him to breathe better. For me though, I think the snatch is much easier to breathe in, so I think that's going to be athlete dependent.
Yeah, I think I would probably muscle snatch it because I feel like the 2 hip pops, like in a clean and then a jerk, or unless maybe I did a clean and a strict press, that's kind of what Joe's doing here, is maybe a little push press. I feel like the 2 explosions to move the weight is more costly for me than just like pulling it one time since it's that light. Very dependent on where your strength levels though, and where 95 or 65 is relative to your 1 rep max.
Right. I would point out that this is very similar. It doesn't look like it, but in the overall volume of 20.1, which was 8 snatches and 10 burpees every single round for 10 rounds. So you would want to look back at that and see what your pace was there. I think you can go faster here because the rep scheme is so short, but the turnaround means the respiration rate may be even higher. So you got to keep that in mind.
Yeah, I think the workout was Gretel, the one that was done in MAC that
Yes.
Travis ended up winning, and then they did it again in the last chance qualifier, and that's 10 rounds of 3 power clean and jerks, 3 burpees at 135. So different type of feel, but same type of workout structure, that the transitions from the clean and or from the barbell to the burpee and the burpee to the barbell really do matter. Because if you think of it just like, oh, I'm going to do these 3 movements, these 3 reps really quick, then take a break, then 3 reps really quick, then take a break, you're doing so many rest breaks that a 1 second change in that ends up adding a whole minute of just rest time.
Absolutely.
I was trying to count rounds, but then I realized I'm not going to talk
I
this
was
entire
thinking
video,
about that.
so I quit.
Yeah, so where are we
At
now?
about 2:15, Joe was about a round and ahead round and a half ahead of Andy based off of.
So your whole
pace.
first 3 minutes of keeping track, and that's all you got?
Good job, man.
All right, so now you got to bring value since you're no longer counting for
So
us.
something that I think would be really helpful, and you guys kind of touched on this, but the way that Andy is moving the bar, he's making contact on the way up and on the way down. And I think with this snatch weight for someone, he's pretty strong. So for someone that is as strong as him, learning to cycle, I guess he's not making contact on the way down. I thought he was. But even like just being a little quicker, like if you're going to make contact, maybe muscle snatch from there so you're not dipping under.
Joe's kind of making contact here on the way down with this thighs. And you could look at it in the next round just to kind of see what she's talking about, where there's kind of like a pause where the bar hits the hips and you kind of get resettled.
Yeah. We actually talked about this a little bit last week when we were talking about the double unders, but in all of these CrossFit movements, there is this hierarchy of like, first you just got to be able to do the movement, you want to get a little bit stronger, but at some point we have to think about the efficiency, and this is one of those things where, am I going to pause or like have a little hitch at the hip, am I going to drop it on the way down, or am I going to touch my hips on the way down? All those little things that you can start practicing and find out what's the most efficient and fastest way for me to do it, because in 30 rounds, you talk about 90 reps, if it's a 1/10 of a second each rep that you're going faster, you're making up time against the field.
A lot of time.
Yeah, and this workout would be pretty dependent on, is it in an in-person competition or is it in an online qualifier where there's not really standards of like where the bar needs to stay? Like if I were doing this for an online qualifier, I would try to have a lot of space around me and just let the bar fall and just go to where it like is to drop into my first burpees to save time. Like they're like adjusting the bar back into the right spot, which they have to do for the video and to not hit each other. But those are things you can think of to save time.
Or just get dead plates so that way when you drop them, they don't bounce around. The rubber ones are
that doesn't
definitely-
exist for 65 pounds for women. So
yeah, that's true. Actually, I do think they do have thick dead 15s. We just don't have them.
Oh.
You'll
Well,
notice here,
why don't you care about us?
This is where Joe's starting to slow down a little bit. He went out much hotter than Andy, who was going on the 32nd, so he obviously got ahead, but this is where you want to make sure that you can maintain and not deteriorate as much as, and obviously you'll see this over the next couple of rounds, Joe starts slowing down to where he's basically doubling his overall round time. So if you go out hot, you're at the risk of that happening to you. Just keep that in mind.
Of getting real damn hot. You go out hot, you're going to be hot.
Yeah.
So the other thing to notice too as he's going is he's got a pretty good technique where he steps back all of his burpees, but they're still pretty fast cadence. Now, if you were doing Gretel and it's only 30 reps and 30 reps and you're finishing in like sub 3 minutes, you're probably hopping back, end up, and moving fast on every burpee. But when you're talking about 30 rounds, 90 bar facing burpees and 90 clean and jerks, then I think it becomes more about how do you hold up at the back half of the workout and are you still maintaining your speed? So this type of technique where it's maybe not his full sprint speed, but it's still pretty quick and he's not having to absorb the drop down to the ground could be a good technique. Could also just do 3 really fast and take a quick break. I think it's just depending upon, how you navigate these types of workouts.
Another thing to note, you'll notice both Joe and Andy, some of them are 2-foot takeoffs, some of them are just kind of hopping over like that one that Andy just did. There is no standard here, so your chest and thighs must hit the ground and you must face the bar, but you can get over any way that you like. I like that for our just what we're doing with our throwdown so that people can go as fast as they'd like, but if the standard's there, you need to practice the 2-foot takeoff.
Yeah, so if that is the standard, and it is about just a 1-footed takeoff, a video to potentially watch is Katrin's execution of Gretel, because she took off from 1 foot, but it was really like she was stepping over the bar, and right before her other foot hit, she kind of jumped up with the other foot, and it kind of looked like not really a jump at all, but if you actually go according to the standard of the law, that could potentially be where they move if they take out that 2-footed jump. I just would not practice that much, and I wouldn't do your throwdowns that way. It's just something to watch, maybe take into consideration. I'm guessing, because every time there's a kind of somebody that skirts a standard like that, generally the next year CrossFit kind of changes it. They had a GHD where people could kind of come down last year, and then they saw all the videos, there was a bunch of complaining, and then the next year it was like your hands had to touch over your head. So you could potentially be training something that you're not allowed to do, but watch it, maybe practice it a little bit in your warm-up, be aware that that could potentially be something that you would use in the future, but not something you practice.
Or they just turn it into pogo burpee every time.
Yeah.
That would be brutal.
Yeah.
So both of them have slowed down now. This is about the point where Andy actually gets off of his on the 30-second pace. So this is the danger with doing something where you start out like super slow. He was taking almost 20-second, or let's call it 18 seconds of rest. He did his first round in like 12 seconds, and then he waited until a 30 and then kept doing that, and he looked really smooth. But at some point, you're going to deteriorate regardless, unless like you're just super consistent. So if that's the case, it probably makes sense to start a little bit more aggressive and then go to a 30-second or a 35-second clock later on, so at least you're banking some reps in the workout.
Yeah, I think too, like, it's only 3 reps, and on that last set, watching Andy do the burpees, he took a break after 2 and then did 1 burpee before he started. This is where athletic discipline and figuring out the best way to go through a workout plays a role, and I think ensuring that you're not doing your burpees in singles and just getting through those 3 reps, even if they're a little bit slower, is a more efficient strategy than trying to take breaks within a set. And I think setting little targets for yourself if you fall off pace can be like, all right, get 3 burpees done and then I get my rest. And you end up saving more time and keeping yourself conditioned to moving fast when you're under fatigue.
Yeah, I completely agree. And I also think that just having some burpee discipline in general, I would use that as those reps are going to be fast regardless, and then take your rest breaks before you get to the barbell. But then again, each round, try to do that quickly. Take your rest before the barbell, do it quickly, take a rest before the barbell.
The Brannon, yeah. Their barbell cycling technique actually seems to have held up a pretty good deal. So it seems like burpee, speed, and then rest is going to be the big determiner of this workout. I don't think your barbell speed is going to matter unless you are world class doing this workout. If you're somebody that's, you know, not top 100 in the world in the open, it's probably going to be more so about the details of your rest break and your ability to stay fast on the burpees, because this is light enough that you should be able to just cycle it unbroken, and they're pretty messed up, but they're still moving pretty much at the same pace with the barbell under this fatigue state.
Yeah, the only time that like transitions back to the barbell are really going to matter would be for those top guys and then how fast they cycle it, like Max said. But I still think learning the discipline, even if you're not that fit, helps. So like having those micro goals of like, yes, I'm going to go fast from the barbell to the burpees is kind of what I meant there, of like forcing yourself to do the rounds quickly, then get some feedback after. Like Andy has his coach right there writing splits for them, and they talked about this. But that's how you get better at workouts like this, because this is just a grinder, but it's in the open every single year, something like this.
Yeah, these are real challenging workouts that come out that every year I'm surprised that the elite athletes are still so much better at than
huge.
Everybody else. You're like, it's just a freaking 95 or 65 pound barbell and 3 burpees at a time. But over the course of workouts, they may be better at this type of stuff than the high level skills like handstand walking and muscle ups that you can just keep moving under fatigue and keep their rest breaks really quick. So this is definitely a style of workout to dial in if you want to be good at online qualifiers or you want to be crushing the open. This is just an indicator of the level of fitness that's required to be good.
Yeah, keep in mind that the fastest, I don't know the fastest female time, the fastest male time was, I believe, 8 minutes and 15 seconds on 20.1. So 10 more burpees in 20.1, but 10 less snatches. So a little bit different on time, but you think about that, I mean, there probably are elite males that could do this in sub 9 minutes, in that 8-minute range, because their turnover is so fast and their discipline's really, really good.
Yeah, and I think too, like doing a set, it was 10 burpees in that workout, right?
Yes.
8 snatches, 10 burpees?
8 snatches, 10 burpees.
In that workout, 10 burpees is so much harder to maintain pace than 3. If you're only doing 3 at a time. So their burpee cadence would probably be faster to offset maybe some of the more transition time. So that's something we'll talk about on the whiteboard.
Yeah, we will. So they have 1 minute left. This is, I told Andy, I yelled it out to Joe too, hey, 1 minute, this is kind of where you have to look at the clock and say, okay, I'm gonna have some discipline. I know we keep using that word, but you have to be able to push the pace here if you wanna have a good score.
Yeah, so something to note too, like, you got a finishing kick. You definitely want to push the pace here. When you're doing your burpees, so the number of steps that you take on the opposite side of the bar when they're bar facing burpees is kind of important. You see Andy kind of jumps 1 step, 2 step, 3 step, then he rests. And then, oh, now he's going to the bar. Damn, maybe we'll get back to it. But if you have that, 3 steps getting into your resting posture, and then 2 more steps into your burpee, you're spending a lot of time that you could just potentially just like jump over, not move, and then drop down into the burpee or drop down.
I know when my burpees break down, that's where it happens, is getting over and turning around. I start taking more steps. So.
Yeah.
that's definitely a time suck.
Great kick by Joey. You can see here how fast he's moving on those burpees to finish that. I believe 27th round for Joe.
All right, so they both got capped, which means there's a pretty aggressive time cap because these dudes are pretty fit relative to most of you and me. Let's talk on the whiteboard. Okay, so we have 30 rounds for time. That's not the traditional style of CrossFit-based workout that we see that often, and that will pose some difficulties in terms of how to manage an appropriate headspace because staying focused in discomfort for 30 rounds of anything is hard, and also just having an understanding of where this workout is gonna separate. So for this workout, we have 59 transitions. So it's basically 2 transitions per round, but then when you finish the last movement of the last round, it's not there. And then you have, of those, sorry, I gotta start this segment over. I got the intro's good. So we have 30 rounds for time. That's 59 total transitions. So there's 2 transitions per round except for the last movement, and then 90 ground to overhead and 90 burpees. An important concept that I want to ensure that anybody that wants to be an athletic in this sport understands is that you should keep and reference your data. Every time you complete a workout, you should have some sort of a way to input it somewhere so you can always reference it back. This sport is the unknown and unknowable, which means that you're constantly gonna get tests that you've never actually done before. And the more experience you have going through tests, the more you can find similar tests to give yourself a more evolved understanding of how to approach the workout. So with this workout, it's very similar to 20.1, which most of you should have done in the open of 2020. That's 10 rounds for time, 8 ground to overhead, 10 bar facing burpees. So if you multiply that out, we have much less transitions, 19 transitions versus 59. So those 40 extra transitions will definitely eat some time, maybe 1 second per transition or 2 seconds per transition. So anywhere between 40 and 80 seconds is different just based on those transitions. Then we have 80 ground to overhead, so it's 10 less for the ground to overhead, and 100 burpees, which means it's 10 more. After watching this workout in the open so many times, the ground to overhead and the burpees were actually pretty similar in terms of reps per second at the end of the workout for almost everybody. So the work of the workout is probably gonna be about the same, and we'll see scores on this, I think, between 40 and 80 seconds difference between this 20.1 workout and this throwdown workout. So that's just a little whiteboard mathematical lesson for you to kind of set expectations for yourself in this workout. You have 15 minutes to get through it. We saw the athletes getting time capped doing this workout, and they're at a pretty high level. So that means some of you will get time capped, some of you will be able to make it through. Make sure you reference back on your data so that way you can have a better understanding of how to approach this. And then the key to the workout, these movements are pretty simple, they're pretty light, most everybody can do them. You can switch between snatch and clean and jerk depending on your skill level or what feels better for you for energy management. But I think the real key here is going to be burpee speed and transitions. That seemed to be the biggest separator. When Joe and Andy were finishing their clean and jerks and moving to the burpees, in the beginning rounds, it was kind of set the bar down and go right away. As you get tired and as you get deeper into this workout, it's much harder to keep that pace. You want to try to make sure that it stays as fast as you possibly can through the transitions. And then the burpees, it's only 3 reps, but we saw them doing 2 reps, long break, 1 rep, or 1 rep break, 1 rep break, 1 rep break. I'm guessing that means this workout hurts pretty good and it's gonna be hard to maintain that pace, but it's definitely gonna be the separator between more elite scores and less elite scores. That's all I got for strategy this week. I'll see you next week on the Throwdown.
Did we do we've got overhead squats, we have ground to overhead, bar facing burpees? You definitely didn't say that.
I definitely said that. I 100% said
I
that.
don't remember.
I said it.
I don't know.
I definitely did because I was like, this is so weird that I'm saying ground to overhead.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
If you said it.
I just felt weird. I remember it feeling weird.
Is this in your imagination or did it actually happen? That's a real thing that happens.
it's a wrap. You know what I'm saying? Your boy Project Tata in this thing, man. Hey, look, man. Thank y'all for watching Training Think Tank's YouTube channel. Y'all hit that motherfucking subscribe button. You know what I'm saying? So y'all go ahead, man. Thank y'all for watching the channel. You know what I'm saying? Hit that motherfucking subscribe button. Let it be known what it be known, what it be known. You know what I'm saying? Tata.